Welcome to LTTV Weekly, number 5, I think. Can't remember days, can't remember weeks. Joined by my usual, I'm going to call you a co-host.
That's
tonight.
That's the best thing you've called me in 5 weeks, to be quite honest.
It's just adding to your ever-changing, ever-growing title. So co-host, head coach, director of rugby and waiting, Geordan Murphy. And this week, there was only one person we could speak to. We did propose a poll of speaking to a former or current player, but who better to speak to than the person now in the hot seat at Leicester Tigers, the new Tigers CEO, Andrea Pinchen. So first and foremost, Andrea, busy week, I would imagine.
Yeah, quite a busy week. I didn't envisage it starting the way that it did, but it has, and there's been quite a lot to pick up on or continue through the week. Obviously, looking at the situation that we're in now and on to the future. So yeah, busy week, you're quite right.
As you said, you didn't envisage it. So it's probably worth just asking quickly. I'm imagining Monday morning you woke up like many people and expected to get on 1,000 Zoom calls and carry on with the jobs at hand. And then things changed because the Tigers board made a decision. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct, yeah.
So it certainly wasn't an anticipated move or a pre-planned move, just to clarify.
No, it was not. And as you say, I sort of woke up on Monday morning, going about my normal business as much as anybody can in this time. And on Monday evening, it was a very different business to be going about. Yeah.
So as I said, a big news week in terms of not only your appointment, but a government update or framework, so to speak, not to use any provocative language at the moment. 2 more board members have retired, or one is in effect retiring in a process. Yep. And obviously the Lord Miners report, which we'll touch on a bit later. I'm going to start with Geordie to put him under the spotlight because I enjoy doing that every Friday. Geordie, recruitment. I hear there's an England and British Lions lock back rower walking around Kibworth who's signed a 10-year deal with Leicester Tigers by the name of Maro Itoje. Is this true?
Mate, that's not true. You know, like everything this season, we've been attached to quite a few rumours. Maro Itoje is a fantastic player, and he's not in our plans at present.
Nice. Well said. In terms of that position, though, I understand there might be some international standards coming into the pack.
Yeah, as we've sort of said on numerous occasions over the last 5 outings, Sambo, we actually are in the process of finalising someone in that position, and we'll release that when we're ready, hopefully early next week.
Obviously, last week we spoke to Jan, and it was all on the back of this week probably had the biggest announcement, but a week-long announcements last week in terms of the squad makeup, in terms of your coaching team makeup. How do you feel the response has been, and certainly around that focus of looking at the youth, looking at developing from within?
We know that it's really important to develop from within, and we've, over the last 3 seasons, we've tried to promote those younger blokes into the squad, blooding them and giving them experiences in order that they're long-term Tigers. It's certainly very exciting. We're nearly there with our recruitment, and certainly in regards to the coaching team, it's hugely exciting. Steve is on board, and Rob Taylor's on board. Alad's on board as well, and it's certainly the beginning of an exciting journey.
Certainly a tough time for everyone as well, given that we have some uncertainty around how plans might look. But I'll ask you about that in a minute so that you're not feeling the heat too early on, because who else gets the chance to put the spotlight on their CEO? So I'm going to take the opportunity. Andrea, before we do look forward, a quick look back at your predecessor who I know you've used the phrase before in terms of him championing your causes, moving up the ranks at Tigers, Simon Cohen.
Yeah, very much. I mean, we would have been perhaps naive not to think that during this time, the board is having to make tough decisions and look at everybody within the business. But with regards to my working life with Simon, he really has championed my cause. I've learned a lot from him, certainly on the elements, where I needed to have, some more skills in, which is regarding the playing side and the agents, etc., etc. But really throughout my tenure at Tigers, where we've worked together, I rang him on Monday evening and I wanted to say thank you to him for everything that he's done for me, and you know, that was a genuine thought.
Obviously, not only Simon, as I alluded to, two more board members, one in the process of departing over the next couple of months, and the other in David Abel stepping down. What can you say of their contributions?
So both primarily on the financial side. David Abel was there long before I came, also a fan of Tigers and has supported Tigers both you know, through being a passionate fan and financially and on the board. So you know, he's brought a lot during his tenure with us. And Ian, who has been at the club for 20 years, so again, a little bit before I joined, but I've worked with him for a number of times, for a number of years. And, you know, his humour will be missed. It's a unique humour. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that. And, you know, we wish him all the best. He's been, you know, really instrumental in driving us forward through this era.
Maybe a move back to his Dr. Soul DJ days now that he's got a bit more time on his hands.
Not so sure about his choice in music, really.
So I guess, Geordie, if I can ask you quickly, in terms of the playing group and the coaching group, or, you know, Oval Park as a whole, the news on Monday would have come as a surprise, but you've had a long-standing relationship with Andrea. You've worked with Andrea over a number of years. It's certainly one that seems to have been well received.
Yeah, look, I think we're very happy with the person that we have been appointed with. Andrea has been around the club for a very long time, and every department that she's worked with, her passion has shone through, and the way she deals with people has been exceptional. And Andrea's been around Leicester Tigers for a very long period. She's hugely experienced in the organisation. She flows right through the centre of it. I'll let her touch on her career path if you so choose, but yeah, you know, it's exciting. She's the best person for the job, and we're excited to get moving forward with her in charge.
I'll pay you later.
Yeah. That was very well done. Very well done. So that's a good point. Good segue. So you are a co-host. Andrea, your career, I want to start with one major sticking point that I only found out now 3 years into knowing you, that you're the daughter of a former Tigers player this week. Or is that not true?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think my dad would have been surprised to have realised that he played for the Tigers, to be fair. No, that is not true. That's another rumour. But no, Dad, I think the skills that I've learned from my father has been certainly in the boardroom, not on the pitch.
So just to clarify, he was not a former Tigers player. It's not another much hyped up job for the boys, daughters, boys, whatever.
No.
So your time at Tigers, a rapid rise is what it's been described as, but doing the maths, 16 years. What year did you start?
So I joined in January 04 as ticket sales manager. Yeah, 16 years, is that a rapid rise? Maybe, I don't know. It's been eventful, and I've worked through, as Geordan said, various different departments and had you know, multitude of different experiences, both the highs and the lows of sport. But yeah, January 04 I joined.
So if we can tick them off, ticket office sales manager, is that correct?
Correct.
Then you went to?
Then I went on to corporate sales, so all things hospitality, advertising, player sponsorship, etc. And then from that point into sponsorship. At that time, we were negotiating with Caterpillar for Cat to come on board, and so my other roles and remits were sort of given to other people so that I could focus primarily on securing that relationship. And after a period of time, then I progressed on to commercial manager, I think I was, commercial director, COO, CEO.
So really, as Geordan said, I mean, he's proving that he could just be host from here on in, to be honest, but right through the heartbeat of the business in the areas of which have grown, you know, probably bigger than most during certainly your time at Leicester Tigers. So are they what you believe make, or are they your unique selling points coming into the role now as CEO?
Look, I think in any job, sometimes the people that are making the decisions uh, make the decisions without speaking to the people that have got all of the information. So, you know, the people that are answering the phones in the ticket office, the people that are out dealing with the community and in schools and rugby clubs, and, you know, if there's a decision to be made about one of those areas, they are the ones with the expertise. And the ticket office now is that their workload and what they're actually doing is probably, you know, not recognizable from when I was in there 16 years ago. So yeah, I mean, look, ultimately the buck stops here, and you know, but those decisions need to be made with input from those that know what they're talking about. One of the things we're keen to do and have done and want to get you know, the continuation of, is having a shadow board. So rather than simply having your executive making your decisions, and, you know, is having a diverse group of people from any area of the business that want to sit on a group of advisors almost, and help the exec in giving us information to make those decisions. And you know, it's been an interesting point so far, and one we want to carry on.
I might have to find a way to sign up. Geordie, you'll have to sign up for that. You have to just push some budgets towards rugby, maybe. How do we get that budget? I guess what I want to ask is your passion for Tigers, because we hear a lot about it. And I know there's certainly no question of it for anyone that knows you or anyone that's worked with you. Has that just come from your time at Tigers, or was it something long before? You mentioned your dad, obviously, but throughout your time at Tigers, I would say there's probably been moments where you've had to embrace it and then take on the challenge as well as take on the good. But where does the passion come from?
I think that came almost day one, or perhaps day three, to be fair. So I started in the ticket office on a Wednesday. I have no idea why it was a Wednesday, but it was. And then on the Friday night, we hosted Stade Francais. And at that time, we were 17,500 capacity. It was a sellout crowd, Friday night lights. And, you know, and I walked out of the ticket office after having been really no use whatsoever, because I didn't know what I was doing and a complete hindrance to all those around me, I'm sure. But I walked out of the ticket office and I had a look at the stadium and all the fans and the passion and the excitement and the electricity that's got, I mean, who does not want to buy into that and be a part of that? It is something special. It is something unique. I really believe that. And look, from that moment on, I was absolutely hooked. So very early days.
Very early days indeed. I want to ask you I might get done for not being politically correct in the way I ask this, but hey ho, comes with being Australian. A lot of people have touted the fact that you are the first female CEO at Leicester Tigers, which is an achievement, and it's a fantastic line to throw away, but it's not necessarily relevant, if that makes sense, is it?
For me, you know, a lot of people have spoke about that and are interested in that, and I kind of get it. At the same time, it's not a factor for me. You know, I firmly believe, and as I say, going back to Dad, it's kind of like you work hard. That's what I was told. You work hard, and you can be anything you want to be. Nothing is out of your reach. So, you know, whatever your gender, it's not a thing for me. I think it's more a thing for other people. That's not to decry that, you know, all the hard work that's going on to make sure that, you know, there are more women on boards, or there is this diversity. But I suppose for me, it's more about cognitive diversity, that I want different ways of thinking that help come to make a decision, as opposed to a tick box exercise. Oh, you're a woman, tick. Yeah.
So right now, I mean, it would be harsh to ask you for a 5 or 10 year plan, given it's 5-6 days since you've adopted the role. But
Thanks.
give us a couple of weeks, and Geordie and I will ask for one. But right now, in terms of priorities and focusing, obviously if we start with rugby, and I'll ask Geordan to follow up from your point, but it seems to be quite settled. There doesn't seem to be much tinkering you need to do or make in those departments, is there?
I think tinkering is a really good word that you use there, because there is no point me tinkering in things that are not my area of expertise. Where I can assist is in man management, strategy, etc., etc. So, look, for me, the most important piece of this is the rugby. That's what we're all about. We are a business, but our business is rugby. So, one of my first calls, if not the first call, was to Geordie, to make sure that he is happy with where he and his team are and want to go. And, backroom team, not on pitch team, that's not me. So, making sure that the structures are in place for us to be as successful as we can be, and that he's comfortable with that, along with Steve, and making sure that those roles, responsibilities, all areas have 100% clarity for all of us internally, but also externally. And therefore the accountability is there.
Geordie, from your point of view, obviously, given that Andrea is not arriving as a new recruit, so to speak, she's been a part of the journey certainly since you adopted or inherited rather, the head coach role. It must be comforting to know that while things are settled, it's not a foreigner, so to speak, coming in and they're going to uproot what's been a long process of hard work.
No, I'm confident that the relationship that myself and Andrea have built over 16 years is a strong one. As I said earlier, she's the best person to lead the club going forward. She's really passionate about the place. She cares about what we do. She's got an unbelievable track record with the commercial side of the business. And I believe that she will support us and empower us to get back and start this journey. And that's something that's hugely exciting. We've been building a coaching team, and we've been on a journey now for just over a year. And we've held our hands up. We've not been as good as what we would have liked to have been. We've not shied away from that fact. We've not tried to hide from that fact. And we've looked to get the support from the board and from Andrea, which we're going to get, in order to get us back on track and back to winning ways.
Commercially speaking, Andrea, obviously things are not as settled maybe in terms of a rugby sector because of current circumstances with COVID. And obviously there's no hiding from the fact that the game needs to find ways to, increase bums on seats, increase revenue. But commercially at Leicester Tigers, are you happy? Are you confident in the way in which things are going?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's as you say, it's, everybody is saying it's unprecedented times. Of course it is for all businesses, and especially businesses that rely on crowds of people. It's not the ideal time, but we are working hard behind the scenes. We're having all kinds of information that will start at this point, or no, well, maybe we'll start at this point, and will we continue the season, won't we continue the season? Everything is being put into place behind the scenes with the staff. And we will communicate once we know the situation, and be transparent with everybody as to what that looks like and what our options are. But the really exciting part for the club is the support of not only the fans but the sponsors as well, because we have during this period of time not only secured new partners but also secured renewals of existing partners, and that's been really rewarding to see that they have that belief and that real want to work with the club, really bought into the club and what we all stand for.
Here's your chance, Geordan. You get to ask someone else. They can let slip about an announcement of a renewal or a new signing. I'll push you for it. Maybe not today, because it doesn't sound like you're going to give me any names, but nonetheless, exciting news given the circumstances. I want to ask you about something the chairman said a couple of weeks ago in an interview. He alluded to the fact that part of the non-sale of the club, if you call it that, was down to the fact that while there were suitors and there were interested parties, there wasn't the interest that the current shareholders or major shareholders and current board felt were the right people to lead the club forward as investors, not just purchasers, but also he picked apart the fact that he didn't feel like they were people who were going to take the club into the community in the right way. You two are heavily involved and have been for a long time in terms of those community touch points. Can you divulge a little bit more about what Peter was referring to?
Oh, it's a really reassuring thing for Peter to say. I think obviously there's going to be interest in a club the size of Leicester Tigers. What he was alluding to, I believe, was he's aware of how important the club is to the community, to our fans, what it means. It's everything. And he and the club and the board were not willing to sign that over to people who just look to financial gain. What we do in around the environment is massive. Andrea talked about it when she was 3 days into her job, experiencing Welford Road in full flight with the passionate fans, the electric atmosphere. That's what we're about, and it's hugely important for us that we have that bond with the community and that we're strong going forward.
Obviously, part of that community is getting fans back to games, but first and foremost, getting players back to training. Part of this week was the government providing a framework or an update, so to speak. But without being harsh, not really an update, if that makes sense, was it, Geordan?
No, look, it's great that the government are trying to get us back up and the wheels are in motion to get rugby back being played on the field. Our chairman and our board and Andrea and myself have all agreed that we will not put any of our staff, whether that's players or whether that's in the offices, at risk. We want to make sure that everything is in line, that we are 100% safe going forward. The players are all desperate to be back out on the field. The support staff are all desperate to be involved and back out there. And the supporters are all desperate to be back at Welford Road. But we will do the right thing for us as a club in order to make sure that we are 100% safe.
I guess from your perspective, Andrew, while there's always reports in the media, it's probably important to point out that there hasn't been any firm announcements and confirmed plans made, has there?
No. So we don't have a confirmed return to training, return to play date. We're working towards all kinds of connotations so that we will be prepared. But what we want to make sure, just to reiterate really what Geordan said and the chairman, that that the health and well-being of our people is paramount. We'll be working certainly with government guidelines, and even then we need to make sure that we have the right equipment, testing, processes in place that protect our people and that we're safe to be in the environment and pushing forward.
And just when the week got a little bit slow of news, on Thursday and Friday, the salary cap report from Lord Miners is produced. Geordan, what have you taken in of that?
Obviously, it was an independent report, and it was interesting to read the findings. I think going forward, most people would be in agreement that salary cap breaches should lead to stripping of titles. Lord Miners gave some recommendations on where it was going forward. We've discussed with Jan last week salary cap issues that are potentially going to arise over the course of coming seasons, and we know that it's going to be a precarious situation. But we'll deal with that when and can we will.
So just to put you on the spot in front of your new boss, will Tigers be paying up to the cap next season?
Oh, my new boss has been hugely supportive of the product, which is the game, and we've been assured that we will have the finances to spend right up to the cap. As has been the case over the past few years, we have to perform on the field in order for the club to go forward, and that's the main area of our concentration to get us back firing.
How much does the current situation impact on that moving forward, Andrea? I mean, obviously, only a couple of days into the CEO role, but from your knowledge, what impacts is COVID going to have on these salary caps moving forward?
Look, it's interesting, isn't it? It's a whole piece for us to work through, and I think we're very much in the realms of working through COVID. What does that look like? What are the long-term effects of that on the game? And also, us wanting to get back to being, playing on the pitch, getting the lads in, getting the supporters in. That's what we're all about. We're all frustrated that we can't do that. No doubt that there will be long-term effects on it, but I also think, that's the world over. That's not just the game of rugby. I think that the way that the world moves forward, there will be fundamental changes across most, if not all, industries.
I guess to wrap up, frustration, you both use the word. Obviously, fans are frustrated, staff are frustrated. I guess it's an opportunity, as you mentioned, the people that are working hard. There's obviously staff furloughed, so there's not as many people working, but things are still happening. I mean, I see way too much of Geordan daily, if not hourly. And that's from his perspective, not mine. I love seeing him. But from the point of view of, I guess, expectations for people, it's not as if Tigers staff, yourselves included, players aren't sitting back enjoying a holiday. There's a lot of frustrated people wanting to return to rugby as much as the fans who are talking about it online, isn't there?
Oh, 100%. I think we're all on Zoom calls most of the day from 8 till very late in the evenings, trying to get things in line. There's a lot of work to be done for the staff that are unfurloughed. They are working tirelessly in regards to everything that we need to do to plan for the eventual outcomes. We don't have a start date, but we've got 4 or 5 plans in place for when we do get a start date. And one of the big things that our medical department, case in point, are working hard on it is the safety and the return to training before we return to play, and then that will be across the board and returning staff to Welfare Road as well. The people who are unfurloughed are probably working harder than they ever have before, I would speculate, and they. I know the lady sitting on screen with us found her workload considerably increased this week.
Andrea, from your perspective, obviously Welford Road, while shut down in inverted commas, is still carrying on. As you said, you've secured new partners. You don't want to tell us who that is, do you? No, that's fine. Okay.
He asks the same questions every week, thinking that we're going to drop something. And my standard line is, we will tell you when we're good and ready, Sam.
But I guess, Andrea, from your perspective, to almost throw the shield up in front of them, who are not taking criticism or heat or it necessarily, but the frustrations are spilling over in certain points. And I guess it's important to establish that without a plan, it's hard to give full answers, isn't it? Sometimes the update is that there is no update.
I think, for the fans, it's extremely frustrating. I mean, as frustrated as we are in it and working through it and trying to get us out the other side. And the fans are just waiting for knowledge, and they're thirsty for knowledge because they want to know when they can come back and get behind the lads like all of us. So, it's the unfurloughed staff are trying to answer questions. Really with no information, and it doesn't matter how many times somebody asks, if you haven't got anything to say as yet, as you say, the information is there is no information, and you've just got to try and keep people as informed, or even just the communication piece that, look, we've got nothing to tell you because we don't know. The minute we know something, you'll be the first to know.
Well, I guess I can only wrap up by pointing out that Geordan and I did try and dress up this week, given Jan's outing last week, looking like he was attending a wedding. I was going to say funeral, but that would have not gone down well, would it? But I do appreciate you coming on. I will hold you to the fact that I expect some announcements from not only Geordan, but you soon. I'm sure people can be excited about them. Geordan, you don't want to throw any in just quickly? Just no.
No, you're all right, man. We'll announce those ones when we can.
Andrew, I think there's probably a point where I have to say that we will have you back on.
Of course.
At some point, I'm going to make you throw the plans out there for people, but I won't do it to you on your 5th day of working. But I do appreciate you both joining us. Geordie, I'm not sure who we'll have next week now. I guess we might have to try and get Genji back after dropping him for Andrea.
I've heard he's very upset, to be quite honest, and having not spoken to him, he's burned me. I don't know if he's going to be willing to front up on the back being second choice. I think we might have to go for someone else.
And to be fair, I think the fans would probably want to hear from Genji more than me.
Not just our fans, probably fans across the game at the moment. But I think there's maybe an argument now that we have to get the chairman back on. He might have to answer some questions again. So I do appreciate your time, and I hope the fans do as well. Andrew, we'll see you soon. Geordan, I'll probably see you in an hour or so when I call you again to annoy you about something.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.